Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for joining me. I'm Katie and we have SCRAWLRBOX. We have a public holiday this weekend in the UK, so it's arriving at the weekend is just fine for me. Before we get started, this month's featured artist is Bastien Marene. I think that's how you say it, also known as Bab2, and it is a lovely picture, so I'm guessing it's paints this month, and I was right. This month's candy was a bubblegum. I know a lot of you ask and sometimes I forget to mention it, so it was bubblegum. It tasted like pear drops and lost its flavour after about 2 seconds and didn't have enough to blow any bubbles with, so there you go. The paint we have this month is the Heavy Body System 3 by Daler-Rowney, and we also have the Scrawlrbox. We have a paintbrush and a pencil, and our medium to work on is canvas board, but I'll go a little bit more into that during the swatching. I actually quite enjoy the Scrawlrbox feature, and it's a relatively new one that started up this year. It's just quite nice to just sit down with a brew and have a look through it and see if I can get some hints and tips as to what else I can do with these materials. That being said, let's take a look then, shall we? So as I mentioned, we have 3 art boards and they are square shape. They have a slight canvas texture on one side and then it's plain on the back, and it feels a little bit like mount board, but obviously with that texture. We have 3 of the Daler-Rowney System 3 Heavy Body Acrylic Paints. The 3 colours are Process Blue, Lemon Yellow and Process Magenta, so I guess it's your 3 primaries really. The brush is a Pro Art Series 60 Prolon, and it's a synthetic nylon brush. It's got a nice snap to it. It's not too snappy though, it's not too bendy either. It's quite a nice paintbrush actually. Now, there was a bit of a discrepancy over the pencil. We were supposed to be getting the Stedtler Mars Ergosoft HB pencil. However, they sent us instead a Faber-Castell 9000 2B pencil. To be honest, a pencil's a pencil really. For this particular project, I used it to do an outline and that was it. Now, as for swatching, I pretty much just placed the paint on the paper. I'd got some spare canvas board, so I used that to swatch and as a bit of a makeshift palette and just smushed it around. If I'd be really honest with you, acrylics are not my main medium. I used to use them a lot back in the day at university, and then once university was finished I kind of just stopped. So I don't know if it was just because I couldn't afford to keep replacing them, or maybe my experiences at uni put me off from using them. I did now and then, but I steered towards other mediums instead, like watercolours and pens. But anyway, this is about this month's box. Oh, I also forgot to mention we have a palette knife card. This has been featured before in SCRAWLRBOX last year when they had the water mixable oils. They had one of them there and they're pretty useful, but I wanted to try and just use a regular palette knife to start off with, but I do end up using the card. This month's Scrawler challenge is facial topography, so I'm just going to go with it being a portrait theme this month. And to begin the painting, I have added a underpainting, and that's just diluted acrylics, and I've just covered areas where I definitely want there to be colour, and left areas or used more diluted for the lighter areas where there's going to be light. Now, the paint itself is actually a lot thicker than what I'm used to with acrylics. However, it is referred to as being a heavy bodied one, so that means it's great for creating textures and applying with a palette knife. However, this is a skill set I am somewhat lacking, so it's kind of nice to be able to reacquaint myself with it through this SCRAWLRBOX. Now, after slathering everything on with my palette knife, which was not included in the box, but I was going to use it anyway, I decided it was time to cut up that card and make a bit of a comb shape with a pair of scissors so I could create a hair kind of texture. This is really out of my comfort zone, you know. I also created some other shapes just so I could apply the paint on. I thought, right, it's time to just get a bit more loose with this, because I'm imagining that's what, well, this is why we have had a heavy bodied acrylic, and big chunky tools to apply it with, so I thought, right, okay, I've done the tight neat part with the underpainting, and it's time to just slather the paint on. The palette knife was actually really useful for mixing the paint. It just meant that my brush has a little bit more of a longer life ahead of it. And it was very strange though. Even though these paints were quite thick, they didn't seem that opaque, and they were a bit bizarre to work with. They tended to mix a little better actually on the painting, and I guess maybe that's what they're all about. So I like the fact that this box has encouraged me to try a new technique. I mean, that is what these boxes are all about. However, I wouldn't say it's one of the best ones we've had for a while, and there's a couple of issues with it. First of all, yes, we have the 3 primers and you can make whatever colours you want with it technically, but I really think this box would have benefited from having a white paint. If we refer to the print that comes with the box, you can tell that the artist, they might have added all that colour with those 3 colours, but there are white paint splatters on there and markings made with the palette knife. And I think SCRAWLRBOX can be a bit guilty of doing this sometimes when they select an artist and they submit some work, but the materials that are used on the art don't match up with what come in the box. And I think sometimes, especially if you're new to art, I think that can set you up to feel like a bit of a failure, especially if you don't realise that a bit of white paint is all you need. That being said, I suppose if we look at the painting as well, black paint was definitely used for the background, and I'm probably nitpicking there, but I definitely don't expect to create anything as good as the print. But this was hard. This was hard to use. It was hard to make anything that I'm massively pleased with. But it's just one of them things, and that's okay. It's not a bad box, but it could have been a better box. Overall, I think I'm happy with what I've produced. Like I say, it's not a medium or a technique I use very often, so I did the best I could with it, and again, I really could have benefited from some white paint. As you can see, the print definitely used white paint. I need to get over that. Anyway, we are all done. It was interesting. I enjoyed the different ways of mark making. I probably won't revisit this technique again though. I just want to say a massive thank you for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed this video and this unboxing. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. I always have a look and a read, and why not say hello if you're new here. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and of course if you haven't already, why not hit that subscribe button. Anyway, you lovely lot, I will see you on the next video. Bye!